So seemingly in America, nobody's ever played Final Fantasy III, and I mean the real Final Fantasy III, not Final Fantasy VI, which they called Final Fantasy III on the Super Nintendo in America. So that leads to the question, now that you can easily get a hold of it in the Pixel remasters, is it worth playing? Hello, welcome to Intermarifica, New Mexico, the channel where we look at things of wonder. We are amidst the wonders from the perspectives of faith and reason, philosophy and theology. I'm your host, Daniel Kelly, and obviously I'm away from New Mexico right now. I'm not amidst the wonders of New Mexico. I'm in beautiful Arizona, and with its own wonders. Maybe I'll do a video on the really amazing cactuses here. But even though I'm away for work, I wanted to finish kind of the first trilogy of Final Fantasy games. I've done reviews of the first Final Fantasy. You can go check that out. The second Final Fantasy, and now we're doing the third. And we continue to see, we saw in the first two, these patterns emerging. So each Final Fantasy is its own game and not connected with the rest, but we do see patterns, and we really see this in the third one. The third one is interesting because this is the first one that I've only played on the Pixel remaster. I haven't played any other versions, so I was super excited to get into it and play it. There might be light spoilers in this video, by the way, but if a game's this old, it's been out this long, and you don't want to be spoiled, just go play it. You know, you don't need to watch these, but I try to keep the spoilers light. So Final Fantasy III, you see this pattern where they're coming back to the class system of Final Fantasy I and seeing how could we do that better, and they make all kinds of innovations from Final Fantasy I. And so Final Fantasy I, 3, and 5 are kind of the same game. Okay, they're kind of the same game. You're trying to do it better and better. And actually, Final Fantasy 3 and 5 are so similar. When I was like, I've never played Final Fantasy 3. I'm going to boot it up on the Pixel Remaster, play it, see what it's like. I was like, oh, maybe I have played this because 3 and 5 have so many similarities. And 5 is one of my favorite Final Fantasies of any of them, of the classic. They kind of closed out 5 closed out this section of the first 5 games where they were like, yeah, we did that good, and they didn't keep returning to the class system. In spin-offs and stuff like Final Fantasy Tactics they did, but 5 is where they're like, yeah, we did that right. We did what we wanted to do there. So what about 3? Should we play it? Well, the first thing I want to comment is another pattern we saw. In a lot of different games we've looked at, like the Zeldas and the Final Fantasies, Christianity is seen as the cool Western thing, right? There's these churches that are very obviously Christian cathedrals in Final Fantasy 1 and 2. In the old Zelda games, what's cool? He is a crusader. He's dressed up as a crusader because that's what they see as cool. Well, and we've talked about how Western influence, the Christian influence of the West, has waned, and you can see it in video games. Well, 3 is the first time where you don't see these Christianity as the cool thing in the West, right? The cathedrals and stuff are replaced by these crystals that heal you up. So I find that very interesting that we can kind of track this timeline of how the West was seen as cool as Christian, but then the more we moved away from our Christian roots, it wasn't seen as cool by people who aren't Western. So I think that's very interesting, and you see that really starting in the Final Fantasies here in Final Fantasy 3, and we'll talk about that more for different games. So that's one really interesting thing. Some of the things I really, really like about Final Fantasy 3 is you get to see where so many cool concepts of the Final Fantasy start. Like, for example, one of my favorite aspects of the Final Fantasies, and a lot of people love these, and this is kind of where the later ones switched that aren't trying to do classes, you see the introductions of summons, these really powerful creatures basically that you get on your team and you can use in battle. And we're going to see where in the later Final Fantasies of the classic era of 1 through 10, they're going to try to put more and more of a focus on summons every other franchise, like they kind of did with classes. So it introduces this thing that will kind of replace classes, which I think is cool. It introduces a really broad class system where you get to choose, hey, this guy's going to be a fighter, this guy's going to be this. The first Final Fantasy I like because it's really short and it explores this a little bit and you can just have a fun time. Okay, but this one gets much, you could see they want to expand on that idea of customizing your characters. I love that. I love, one of my favorite things in games is if there's a mid-story twist where you think you've explored and seen everything that just opens everything up way more and you're not expecting it. Final Fantasy III does that, and I'm not going to get into what that is exactly too much, does that super well. I love that. So those are all really, really cool things about Final Fantasy III that I really liked and I enjoyed playing. Things that are difficult and not so good about Final Fantasy III is the classes are super unbalanced, and there's things that you should just know. I do want to replay it because at first I didn't look at anything, I just played through it. And if you're, for example, you shouldn't use any of the spellcasting classes until near the end if you can, because they just permanently hurt your hit points, and hit points is the only thing, and stamina that which determines your hit points, that transfers between classes. So there's little secret things that seem kind of unbalanced, they hadn't got it right, and in Final Fantasy V they do get it right. So Final Fantasy V, it seems like Final Fantasy III is like just a playtest version of 5, right? So I can really understand why they didn't release 3 in the US. Well, I guess they didn't release 5 either, but until now, because 5 is pretty much just a better version. 1 is the first version of this class one, and I think it's still worth playing because it's really short and it's you get to see a lot of the stuff. But if you want to play the class system done the best, play 5. 3 doesn't have as much reason to play it except for, oh, this is where that started, which is a good reason. So it's a little unbalanced. Another thing that is I really, really don't like, that really hurts this game, is the end dungeon. The Pixel remasters, I like that they have the quick save feature where you can save anywhere. I don't know how miserable this would have been, Final Fantasy III's end part, in the original version. And I don't use the quick save anywhere feature very much in the Pixel remasters because I want to play it how it was. But wow, it is a lifesaver. And there's other quality of life changes that they did in the Pixel remaster that really just make the game more playable. But the last dungeon, it's just boss after dungeon after boss after dungeon that is just miserable, and there's no way to stop, there's no way to pause. And I'm happy to see that not only did I really, really not like this end part and kind of think, oh, we could just stop here, this is too grindy, this is too long, it's not fun anymore, but even the maker was all like, yeah, that end part was awful. And they actually changed the last dungeon to make it a little bit less of a drudge. And they don't change a lot on the Pixel remasters. They pretty much leave it how it is, but just the last dungeon is so unplayable that they changed it to make it more playable, which I think was very good. So overall, what's the bottom line? Should I play Final Fantasy III? Is it worth my time? And I would say I'd recommend Final Fantasy V more than this, and 1 more than this, if you want to see this class system done really how it was supposed to be. 3 is just good to see where a lot of this stuff started, like the submarine that I really like. It's one of my clearest memories from childhood for Final Fantasy VII. It's also in 5. All different Final Fantasies have the submarine, but they have the submarine in this. That's super cool. If you want to see where summons started, if you want to see the transition to the different class systems, that's cool. So basically, it's like if you want to see, oh, this is cool, I see the development and that kind of thing, yeah, it's a good game to play. If you just want a JRPG to play that's just really good, I think this one is still pretty unfinished. So that's my thoughts. Really good game for its time, but it has been pretty much just surpassed in every way. 5 is basically just a better version of this game. I hope that was helpful for you. You have a wonderful day. God bless you.